Let us begin with the chapter Out of Love for the Friendless. Now the title itself says that the friendless here, they have been referred to the animals, as animals don't have friends, right? And here the whole story revolves around the love for the cruelty against the animals. Okay, now see, the case before the judge in a New York courtroom that morning of 1866 was extraordinary. One of the wealthiest men of New York was standing in favor of a horse. The horse owner, a cab driver, was angry and bewildered. Bewildered means very confused. He felt he had done no wrong in cracking his whip on his horse. What if the horse had fallen? The plea of wealthy men that the horse was exhausted and should not be whipped with utter nonsense. Meddling swells, the cab driver muttered. Now here a scene has been described in the courtroom, and the case is that a wealthy man has sued the cab driver for whipping the horse, for beating him badly. And the argument is that if the horse had fallen, that means if he was injured or if he had faced some difficulty, or you can say the whip on the horse would have caused him any injury, and further it is said that the horse was exhausted and he should not be whipped. If he is exhausted, he should be given rest for some time. So the cab driver says the meddling swells. The meddling swells means the one who interferes. A fine of $10 for inflicting cruelty on an animal was the judge's verdict. The verdict became the talk of the town. The American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals that the meddling swell Henry Bergh represented had been formed the same year, but hardly any convictions had made. Okay, now here a society was formed for preventing cruelty to the animals, and it was represented by Henry Bergh. And in this case, a fine was inflicted for $10 because the cab driver was madly whipping the horse, and it was an action of cruelty on the animal. The 19th century can be called the century of the horse, for they worked in cities and in the country, pulling heavy loads, carriages with people, goods, officials, aristocrats and the commoners. City trams were horse-drawn, as were hansom cabs and taxis. Electricity was still known. Now it is being said that 19th century was the century of horse because each and every way of transport was horse driven and electricity was not there. Henry Bergh, the crusader for the cause of animals, was most unexpected in his role. He belonged to a rich family of ship owners, was educated in arts, and was a man of refined sensibilities. He was young, over 6 feet tall, dressed in elegant style, and had travelled extensively abroad. Moreover, he was close to President Abraham Lincoln and was a member of diplomatic services of the USA. Such a man earned for himself the nickname the Great Meddler. He got sneers and jeers when he tried to save beasts of burden from cruelty. Now what happened? In this paragraph we can say Henry Bergh has been described as the crusader for the cause of animals. The crusader means one who takes or carry forwards a cause, anything for the good. And it is being described that he was very rich. It has been given some physical features, and it was said that he was very close to President Abraham Lincoln and he served the diplomatic services of the USA. He further got the nickname the Great Meddler. The meddler means interferer, the one who interferes. And he says that he got sneers, mocking smile and rude remarks when he tried to save the beasts of burden. Young Bergh was extremely sensitive to the plight of animals working for man. If he saw cruelty to animals, he could not contain himself. He could not stop himself from saving the animals. Once in 1864, he was in St. Petersburg, Russia, as secretary to delegation to the US government. Now this Russian incident has been described here. As usual, he dressed elegantly. This afternoon he was wearing a Napoleonic hat and a gold lace. Suddenly he saw a Russian cab driver madly whipping his horse that had fallen on his knees. Now what he says, a Russian cab driver was whipping the horse and the horse fell on his knees because he was exhausted and tired and he could not carry the load. Bergh forgot that he was on diplomatic mission. He leaped out of his official carriage and snatched the whip from the cab driver, who was ready to strike once again. The cabby, overawed by his grand appearance, bowed and begged for forgiveness. Now what happened? The cab driver was ashamed of his action and he begged for forgiveness from Henry Bergh. This incident gave Bergh a focus. He decided to take concrete steps in a matter so close to his heart. Borrowing the scheme from the Humane Society, England's Royal Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, he returned to America. He resigned from the diplomatic service 2 years later. In 1866, he founded American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals along with some like-minded people. Now, this society was formed on the basis of Europe Society. He borrowed this idea from that society and he formed the first American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals with some of the people who used to think about the same, that cruelty should not be inflicted on the animals. Saving animals from cruelty was easier said than done. Horsepower was needed everywhere. Even the sports of the gentle flock inflicted cruelty on animals in the endemic dog fights, fights and live pigeon shoots. In slaughterhouses, there were no easy, painless ways of killing animals. Killing or torturing was a matter of routine. Now he says that saving animals from the cruelty was just easy to say and it was much harder to do. And he says that there was no painless way of killing animals even in the slaughterhouses, and killing or torturing animal was matter of routine. The big challenge before Bergh was to change the mindset and to sensitize the people to the suffering of animals. His efforts were taken as the eccentricities of a crank. Eccentricities means weird behavior. Okay. The press ignored his efforts. He battled almost alone and unnoticed. At this time, a major event broke the indifference among people of New York. Now, he says that he used to struggle alone and unnoticed. The press, that means the media, did not recognize his efforts. And the major challenge was to change the mindset of the people. A ship named Active, carrying a load of turtles, arrived in New York. Bergh found in the hold of the ship 100 turtles, half dead, blood oozing from their flippers where they had been drilled and rope was run through them. Bergh had the captain and crew arrested and taken to court. The lawyer defending the captain of Active said law applied only to animals, not to turtles. This is a sheer ignorance which says that turtles are not animals. Bergh countered by saying that since turtles were neither vegetables nor minerals, they were animals, but he lost the case. He, however, achieved the purpose to a great extent because the trial got wide publicity. New York Herald, a leading newspaper, devoted 6 full columns to the trial. 1 million people came to know about Bergh's aims and work. His campaign started to have effect. Overburdened horses got some respite from whip lashes. Now, in this event, a ship named Active was arrived in New York, and 100 turtles half dead, blood oozing from their flippers. Why? Because they were drilled and rope was run through them to tie them. To which the Bergh had the captain and crew arrested, taken to the court. Now what the lawyer says that turtles are not animals, which shows that such a sheer ignorance has been applied here, to which Bergh countered that they are not vegetables, they are not minerals, but they were animals. But even after this, he lost the case. But his vision, his activities got a wide response, wide publicity, because a leading newspaper published full 6 columns for the trial and people came to know about his work. His campaign started to have effect. Overburdened horses got some respite from whiplashes. Those convicted in anti-cruelty were fined heavily. The badge of ASPCA on the uniform started drawing respect. One blizzardy afternoon, Henry Bergh stepped onto the tracks right in the path of an overloaded passenger car being dragged by 2 exhausted nags. "Unload," he ordered as he showed the society badge. At the driver's refusal to comply, Bergh pulled him down out of his seat and flung him headlong into a snowbank. This caused the other carriages behind to stop. The traffic jams, unknown in 1870, extended a quarter of a mile. Inside the carriages, the passengers fumed. The transit company tried to send the carriages by alternative routes but found them blocked by SPCA agents. Catcalls began. Bergh came from cabbies as well as passengers. Evening came. More than 2 hours had passed since the traffic had come to a standstill. Finally, the company gave in. To relieve the burden of the tired necks, their team was doubled. Now 4 horses instead of 2 would pull the cars. ASPCA had achieved a major victory and won the approval of New York. Now this incident is being narrated, in which it is shown that at one time when 2 horses, they were quite exhausted and they were pulling a carriage. At this, Bergh stopped the carriage and asked the cabby to reduce the burden, but it was not so easily given, so he halted the traffic for 2 hours. And finally, when the company gave in, that means when the company agreed to Berg's demand, what happened? They doubled the horses. That means now instead of 2, 4 horses would pull the carts. As the influence of ASPCA grew, it needed more funds which were not available. The main office did not have enough chair for all its agents. Again, Destiny came to help Henry Berg. Now, when the institution grew, it needed funds to run the institution, but they were not having, so Destiny came to help. Berg was requested to visit a sick man in a hospital. He went to the bedside of Mr. Louis Bonnard, a rich Frenchman who had made a fortune trading in animal furs. Now, what happened? Berg was asked to visit this man in the hospital. His name was Mr. Louis Bonnard. He was a Frenchman and he made a large fortune. That means he earned a lot by trading in animal furs, by buying and selling of animal furs. Bonnard was full of praise for Berg's work. He wanted to leave a fortune of $1 lakh to the society. He said to Berg, I shall help you. Only promise that if you ever have the power, you will extend your protection to the wild things of forest and plain. Now, what he requests Berg, that I will help you, and what you have to do in return, that you have to take care of the wildlife also. Wildlife in the forest as well as in the plain. Okay? And he donated $1 lakh to the society. With this money and some other donation, ASPCA's finances improved. Eventually, the Audubon Society was formed. Now, the Audubon Society was formed for wildlife. The society aimed at protecting wildlife. Berg was its vice president. Berg's tireless efforts paid off. 33 societies throughout the country were formed during his lifetime. Today, more than 600 ASPCA in New York alone handle 2.5 lakhs animals a year. More importantly, every home, classroom, meat, poultry market, pet shop, dog pound, racetrack, circus, even Hollywood makes definite efforts to be kind to animals. Now, with this donation, the company's finance improved and eventually this society was formed. This society was formed to protect wildlife. Berg became his vice president. 33 societies were started and 600 ASPCA agents handled 2,50,000 animals in the year. And what more thing was done, that these places were made to be given good efforts to be kind to animals. Yet few know about Henry Berg. American poet H.W. Longfellow wrote these lines to honor him. Amidst the noblest of the land, though he may count himself the least, that man I honor and revere, who without fear, in great city dares to stand the friend of every friendless beast. Now what happens? He says he is the noblest of all. He counts himself the least. Further, I honor and revere. मैं उन्हें पूजता हूँ, मैं उनकी इज्जत करता हूँ जिसने विदाउट फेवर यानी बिना कुछ रिटर्न में लिए, बिना डर के इतनी बड़ी सिटी में अकेले खड़े होने की ताकत रखी. द फ्रेंड ऑफ एवरी फ्रेंडलेस बीस्ट. दैट मीन्स एनिमल्स का कोई फ्रेंड नहीं था बट वो उनका फ्रेंड बन के खड़ा हुआ.